My brother recently sent me a YouTube video from the channel called Stuff Made Here. If you don't know that channel or never heard of it before, Stuff Made Here is a channel where an engineer by the name of Shane designs really cool projects. He once created a basketball hoop that moves itself to make sure that you can't miss your shot, and he also tried to create an unpickable lock that turned out to be easily pickable because not all of Shane's projects are extremely successful. So the video that my brother just sent me is one of Shane's new projects where he creates a bow that aims and shoots targets all on its own. So it requires no skill from the person that is actually pulling on the bow itself. Really fascinating to see Shane go from start to finish. I am going to show you a clip from this video, but if you want to watch the whole thing, there will be a link in the description below, and there will be a card up here somewhere. So check out that whole video. It is really cool to see the whole process. Now you might be thinking to yourself, DJ, as a Christian YouTuber, why are you talking about an engineering YouTube channel? And the reason is because I think all of Shane's videos provide really strong evidence for God's existence. So check out this clip, and then I'm going to talk about why I think this clip points to evidence for a creator.
1 week later, and I have nothing to show you because software development is very boring, but it's ready to test, and I have a super awesome voice-activated target launcher.
All right, pull.
In the next 500 milliseconds, a lot is going to happen. The bow is drawn and ready to fire. I'm pressing this button, which tells the computer to fire at will. The tracking system sends the computer an update on where everything is every 3 milliseconds. When the computer sees a target, it checks to see if it's moving in a parabolic motion. And then it does a tedious little calculation to figure out where it should move the bow to intercept the target, taking into account the time to move there, release the arrow, reach the target, and the curved path of the arrow. This takes about 1,000th of a second, and then it starts moving the bow. And then it repeats this over and over again as more tracking data comes in, which allows it to adapt for things like the shaking of my hands. When it thinks it's aiming at just the right point, it waits until the timing is just right, and then completely misses.
So what you just saw is the complexity behind Shane's design, and then his failure to make it successful at this point in the video. Now he does go on to actually get this to work, where it does accurately and consistently hit targets all on its own, which is super cool to think about. But go one step further and think about how much intelligence went into designing that bow. Now go one step further and think about how much more complex the rest of nature is. How much more complex DNA is, how much more complex atoms are, how much more complex cognition is. So what I'm trying to show you is that when you see that bow, if you just saw it lying around somewhere, you would think to yourself, wow, the person who created that must be incredibly intelligent. You would never think to yourself, wow, that bow must have created itself, because it's obviously designed. And creation is the same way. There's so much complexity in all of nature that it obviously is designed. It's something Ray Comfort actually says a lot in his street evangelism, if you've ever watched any of his videos. He'll say to someone, how do you know a painting has a painter, even if the painter is long since dead and gone? Well, you know the painter existed because the painting currently exists. How do you know a building had a builder? Well, you know because the building exists. It points to the builder. So then he goes one step further and says, how do you know creation has a creator? And it's because creation exists. This is called the teleological argument, if you want the fancy name. The teleological argument essentially says every design has a designer. Then it goes and says the universe has a highly complex design. And then its last statement is, therefore, the universe was designed. This was made famous by William Paley, who came up with a watchmaker analogy where he says essentially what I said about the bow. If you stumbled across a watch in the middle of the woods, you wouldn't assume that it created itself. It's realistically impossible for that to happen because it's intelligently designed. So we shouldn't assume that the universe came into existence out of nothing from natural causes. It can't create itself. It can't be created randomly. It is obviously designed and must have a designer. Now I will tell you, there are tons of atheists out there who have tried to refute Paley, and so there are counter arguments to the teleological argument. I'm not going to talk about all of those counter arguments today because someone will definitely in the comments tell me that I'm strawmanning their arguments, but I guarantee you there'll be some atheists in the comment section below that will give you their reasons for why this theory or the teleological argument is incorrect. Brian, I'm looking at you, brother. Why I'm telling you that is because no one on the face of the planet can make the decision for you in regards to whether or not God exists. You must examine the evidence on your own and determine whether or not God exists. Once you've made that determination, if you said, like I do, yes, the design in nature points to a designer, you must then determine which God it is, because there's maybe thousands out there, from Buddhism to Judaism to Islam to Christianity. There's all kinds of different religions out there. So you must examine the evidence, not only for the existence of God, but for which God might be the actual God in existence. You have to do that work on your own. No one can make that decision for you. So I want to show you in today's video some strong evidence for why God exists. This isn't the only piece of evidence. It's also not strong evidence for Christianity, but it is strong evidence for a designer. So do some more research, think about these topics, and come to your own conclusions. All glory to God, friends. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.